Okay, hey guys, welcome back. We got another episode today, and Zack Memmott came over last second. It won't feel like that because you're listening to it real time at your time, but we put this together in the matter of 2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it for a while.
We almost made it happen in Park City.
We just finally, I was down here for a weekend, so we made it happen.
And we did talk about it a couple days ago that you were coming down, but actually making it happen, had to go run and get a micro SD card. And had 2 kids in the car, and my brother's getting married, have a reception in like an hour that I got to go to. But it's like, this is the kind of guy that I want to bring to you because he works at such a high level in every area of his life. And I think all of you want to do that in your life. That's why you're listening to this podcast. This is somebody that you want to listen to. This is somebody that's doing it at a high level. He's also seen the good and the bad, I would say. Like, you've had times that are tough that have helped you get to where you're at. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that it's like, there's the 1% earners. Like, this is the 1% of the 1% at our age. Like, Zack has incredible wisdom. He's an incredible earner, entrepreneur, father, husband. Is he perfect? Pretty dang close. And that's why I'm bringing him to you today. So Zack, thanks for coming, dude.
Thank you, man. That was nice.
You're welcome.
So thank you.
So let's just jump into it. I know we've talked a lot about a lot of things. We've spent now coming up on 5 quarters in a mastermind together.
Yeah.
And we've had pillow talk together.
Yeah.
And we've talked about a lot of deep things together.
Right.
And I really like your mindset on things because you think outside the box, and it's always pushing in a direction of like thinking bigger.
Thanks.
Not necessarily bigger all the time, just better too. Like, I kind of be the best version of myself, but it's not fake. It's legit.
Yeah.
And I really like that about you and your wife. We got to spend some time with you guys in Maui as well, which is super fun.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And at the gym.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Why don't you tell people what you do for work, and let's stem off that because you help so many individuals in that space.
Yeah. So I own pest control businesses. We operate in several different states, but I started in door-to-door sales, which is what we do still. So I lead, train, manage sales guys, but I am a partner in multiple pest control branches across the U.S. So as far as what I do, I kind of broke it down. I lead, train, I sell a little bit still, but most of the work that I do is personal development, emotional development, principle-based life living, that kind of stuff. Like, just how to operate as a man, as an entrepreneur and a man and a husband and a father, and to remain whole during the process, because it pulls you in a lot of directions.
If you can go back to that point of helping people become men, what fires you up about that the most? Like, what's your earliest memory, or why are you passionate about that? Why do you have a desire to help men?
I think the reason I have a desire to help men is because at one point I was a man who needed help. And through that process, I guess to really break it down, if I go back far enough, from high school to my mission to maybe 7-ish years after my mission, I was just rolling, like just getting better. I have developed a ton of my mission. I came home, started making really good money after a couple of summers. I wanted to be a millionaire. I made that happen. I just did what I wanted to do. And at some point during all of that, I became really unhappy. And I would look around and wonder to myself, why do I feel this way? Because I have everything that I think anybody could want. I got a wife that I think is bad. I got great kids. I live in a bitchin' house. Like, I drive what I want. My wife's got a sick car. We travel when we want. Like, I make money while I sleep. I don't know what there is for me to be unhappy about. And so that's the conversation I'm having with myself. And my day-to-day, I was so like authentically unhappy to where when I would wake up in the morning, from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed, the only thing I looked forward to was going to sleep so I didn't have to feel what I was feeling. And that stayed the same for about 3 years. And I was in probably the thickest part of it when I first met you guys. And so I started doing everything I could think of, getting around different people, just like anything, trying to learn everything I could about the brain and emotions and hormones, and getting my blood work done and trying to see what the hell was going on. Because to me, I didn't understand it. And I would have never labeled myself this way, but I had been for a long time by the people I work with as somebody with a really high EQ and emotional understanding. And so internally, I'm trying to like do the work and be like, what's going on? Because I do it for other people all the time, and I couldn't figure it out. And so coming out on the other side of that, my awareness increased, because I was like, if I can go through that like this when my life is the 1% with no explanation, it's probably a lot worse for other people. And I've been ignorant to the fact that they're going through that. And if I'm now equipped because I have experience, then I should help them. I had it all ties together, but 4 or 5 summers ago, I think it was 2018, so 5-ish, 6.
It's crazy.
I had a young guy that came out with us, and first month he was just ripping, like top rookie in the company. He was just crushing it. Second month, all his production stopped. And I started meeting with him, and he had gotten to this cyclical thinking where for the next 3 months, I was basically talking himself out of taking his life 3 days a week. And I didn't dare send him home because he needed me. And I didn't even care if he produced, but I couldn't not be there for him. And I remember having a conversation with him and saying, if I ever have the guts or the balls to ask Heavenly Father to let me go through what you're going through so I can help people like you, then I'll ask him. But I got to the point where I said, I don't know how to do this thing. I've never been there. And so I referenced that because I remember thinking there's no shot I'll ever ask for this. And because of what I saw it do to him. And then fast forward, and God said, you don't have to ask. Here it is.
Yeah.
Because you need to help people. And so whatever happened or started it, I don't know. But getting on the other side of it.
What's it?
This 3-year period of like hating myself for no reason at all. Not wanting to do anything because of this high level of self-concern. So I became really selfish because I was so worried about what was happening to me. And I guess just the constant day in, day out, like not knowing why I was unhappy and trying to solve that problem. But it just wasn't getting solved. And so kind of breaking through to the other side, I remember thinking in the middle of it, like, we don't go through things without purpose. Like there's something here for me. And I think that, kind of off topic, but related, people like to glorify people that suffer through stuff. And I think that's great. And if you're suffering to suffer, it's a bullshit waste of time. If Christ just hung on the cross and died and suffered for us and there was no atonement made, then where's the glory in the suffering? If all I do is suffer endlessly to just suffer, I'm not learning, I'm not growing, there's no benefit to me or anybody else. And so in the middle of all that, I never labeled it as suffering. I never labeled it as depression, and people would have, but I wasn't going to do that to me psychologically. I wasn't going to label myself as having that thing. I just was fighting, I guess. I don't know what I would label it as, but I think if I had seen a psychiatrist, I'd be like, oh, you're deeply depressed, here's some Xanax, right? And done that for me. So yeah, that's what that is. That 3-year period of my life that is the most recent to me, because I just started turning around in January and we're in March now. But
so you mentioned that you were helping a guy that was wanting to commit suicide. Did you have those thoughts during that time?
In the very beginning, I never considered killing myself, but I was walking through our bedroom in our house and I saw myself in the mirror, and like it was a voice in my head, as clear as you could hear it, it was like, you should kill yourself.
Mm.
And I audibly just, fuck you.
Mm.
Like, I don't think like that. That's not me. I didn't say that. I'm not. So verbally, I responded to that voice I heard. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, how did that show up in my life? I wasn't doing things I shouldn't be doing. I wasn't like living a life. I was hiding from my wife and having guilt. There wasn't anything going on.
Huh.
I was just living. And so I was never like suicidal, like never. But it was odd that that would pop into my head, and that there were days when I would rather just not be there. Like,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like I was going to do anything about it. I was just going to keep working.
You're just unhappy.
Yeah. And I think it's what most people would call depression, like, for sure. But to me, I knew it would end. So it came from nowhere. So I knew somehow I'd get rid of it. But, yeah, I guess that all started just to say that really what I end up doing now mostly is, and it's really all that I care to do with my time, I guess, to be very forward, I'm in a position where if I wanted to exit, I could retire. Like, I don't need to work anymore. And if I'm going to, which I want to keep working, I just want to be doing things that make me feel like I'm serving a purpose, not just making money. And to help these young men as they become fathers, work through their own stuff, whether it's childhood things or adulthood things or marriage issues or whatever it is. I just have a lot of experience with that stuff, and I like to listen. And I think if I create a safe enough environment for them, they'll talk to me. And that's what I've experienced.
You're around reps all the time. I'm say men, mostly, right?
Yeah.
You might have a few women that sell for you.
Yeah, mostly guys.
But mostly dudes, and probably more dudes that open up. What are dudes experiencing right now? Most, and what's the counsel that usually comes up? Because I find that a lot of times what I'm going through, or what others are going through, you feel like you're alone.
Yeah.
But there's actually way more people going through it at the same time. What do you see? Because you see a lot of volume. You know what I mean?
So here's what I've deducted. I think the majority of men deal with the same stuff. I don't think that people in general are that different from other people. And I think rich, poor, whatever, it's like we deal with the same stuff. You know, stress feels the same to a wealthy person as it does to a poor person. Love feels the same. Hurt feels the same. Courage means the same thing.
Can I add to that? I was talking to Iron Cowboy, and he was talking about pain when he was going through his 100 Ironmans. This was while we were golfing, and he said, he was telling me while he was trying to keep going, because it was like in the middle of the 100. He said, I learned that pain has a threshold, and once you reach a certain amount of pain, there's really no more.
Yeah.
So if I'm okay with that threshold of pain, it all feels the same after that, to your point.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so interesting because it goes right along with what you're saying. I've started to think that way when I just feel something like a kid is like pulling at my arm hairs or something. I don't know. Like,
right.
It's like it hurts, but then you think to yourself, well, how much pain is that really?
Right.
Pain has a threshold. Or if I'm doing a workout, maybe it's a better example.
Yeah.
But what you're saying, you know, with stress and no matter what amount of money, it kind of feels the same. And I agree with that.
Yeah, it is. And I think people think that if you have money and a family that you're like, because a lot of the world doesn't, you know, like 50% of marriages or more end in divorce. So a lot of families are broken. Most people don't live above the like median threshold. That's why it's the median. It's just, you know, it's the case. But what I guess my point was, men, first off, always feel alone. They feel like the problems they have are theirs to burden themselves, that yoke is just theirs and theirs alone. And I think that's a fallacy, because I don't think, Eric, that anyone, if you came to me about your problems or another man, I don't think anyone's more equipped to understand your problems than another man, because he's probably dealing with the same shit or has dealt with it. And so I think there's this, again, a societal expectation, but also just this internal struggle with masculinity to like take care of business and not need help. And I think it's a fallacy, because I think most guys would like to help you if they can. You know, if they're equipped to do it, they're not going to tell you no. If they know you're hurting, they would like to be there for you. And at least the friends I have, like if I called you and was like, hey, Eric, I need help, like you'd be there for me.
Sure.
And so I think first off, men will feel alone. Oftentimes it's their own fault because they'll ostracize themselves emotionally from people. Second, I think the burden of a father and a husband, okay, the mantle, I'm not going to call it a burden, it's not that. The mantle that you wear as a husband and father is extremely heavy. And I think people don't, either they're not anticipating that, or we don't speak openly enough about it. And what I mean is, I don't ever want my wife to feel like she has to make money. It's not like I want to provide to the highest level I possibly can, because I want my wife and children to have the best life they can possibly have, because as a man, that I feel fulfilled. So it's a selfish pursuit, but it gives them what I would like them to have, which is again selfish, and they're not going to complain about it. But the burden or if you find an opportunity to make a ton of money, that doesn't mean it's easy. Yeah. Right. Like it's a ton of work. So you have that on your plate. Now, if I just run through like my personal stuff as a husband and father, I also need to make sure my wife feels loved, that I have time for her, that she feels helped, or whatever her love language is at the time, because hers seem to move based on how available I am and what I'm able to give her at the time, that I'm meeting her needs. And not only meeting her needs, that I'm providing her wants. If she wants a date, if she wants a trip, if she wants those things. I believe the Lord does that for us. I believe that he will administer to our needs and wants. And as somebody that loves God and loves his children, I want to help people with their needs and their wants if I'm able to, and my wife included. So to be a provider, to know that someone comes through the front door, I'm the protector.
Can I back up to the wants again?
Yeah.
I have a thought when you say that. And I think it came because of this. You guys travel a lot, and you like to travel.
Yeah.
And I think traveling gives us perspective.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a better education, really.
No, I would agree.
And in fact, I've had mentors tell me, you want to get better at business, travel a lot.
Oh, interesting.
You want to get smarter, travel a lot. You want to do more real estate deals, your own, travel a lot. You will get different perspective. And you'll be able to maybe even find a product that exists somewhere else, but then America doesn't get.
Right.
And then boom. And I've seen that happen with other people. But I think that's something that you keep with you. And so I believe that. Like you die and you have your experiences.
Yeah.
Right. I think that we get, and this is a slight tangent. I want to get right back on track, but I have to pause that because I think it's an important thing with what we're talking about, masculinity, but also like coming together as a couple. Nobody should tell you what the standard is.
No.
Nobody should tell you how much you should travel. There's no standard. Oh, like we try and say, oh, go on a vacation once a year.
Right.
Like, where the crap does that come from? Do you, like, and then like there's this opposite of I'm just gonna do me, and then we like look at that so poorly, and that's not what I mean. But at the same time, I would lean more towards that in a healthy way, in harmony. Like, no, don't do what everybody else is doing. Oh. If you want to go travel. And don't set like this number of like, well, we can only travel once this year because like, no, go find a way to make it happen.
If you have the means to do it, or even if you don't,
go find a way to make it happen.
100%.
I know you would agree with that because I know you well enough.
Right. Yeah. Your wants are more important than your needs when it comes down to life. They will propel you to greater places than needs ever will. There's a caveat. It's like if my child needs brain surgery and has cancer and I need $1 million, that's going to be more propelling than any want that I hold.
Right.
But your basic needs, food, water, shelter, that kind of stuff, nobody gets fired up to get that done. But to go to Thailand or to do this, or to get, you know what I'm saying? Like that'll propel you way further to pursue things that you want. And so as a father and a husband, I need to provide, I need to protect. And when it comes to provision, it's the things I think and that we communicate on that we need. And then the things that I think and we communicate on that we want. I also believe physically I need to be an example to my son of what a man should look like, act like, carry himself. I believe if I am not, I want my daughter to know what a man should look like. I want my wife to look at me and be attracted. I want her to want to have sex with me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be physically in a position that she feels like she has something cool. So there's the physical aspect. Now, emotionally, I need to lead my family. I need to be there for my wife when she needs emotional support, my children. I need to nurture them and be empathetic towards them. I also have to be a disciplinarian. I also have to do anything masculine in the house, which is fine. And then I have a job that sometimes is 80 hours a week. I have guys that are really struggling that end up, my entire morning routines will, be me trying to figure out how to help them. So I have all of those things that I balance and deal with. And that all comes alongside the mantle that I wear as a father and a husband. And I could continue to go down the list of things. I'm the oldest of 9 kids. I feel like I have to be an example there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, physically, I have to turn those knobs as close to 10 as I can to be the version of myself the people around me deserve. That's what I believe. I think I need to be the best I can at those things. And it's not a comparative thing to somebody else. But I got one shot at this. If I'm going to raise really good kids, they need to see a 10. They need to see what an emotionally intelligent, authentic man is that still goes out and crushes, right? They need to understand that while you crush, while you win, while you pursue, there's going to be times when you feel broken and you have to keep going. And so when it comes down to what men deal with, it's really broad. And if they have got to pick my words here. If they have a wife that I would tell them to divorce, then it's even worse. Men all the time get in positions where if they're trying to pursue and go big, they have a nagging wife or someone who doesn't support them or somebody who bitches and complains or somebody who always wants more. And
I got lucky there somehow.
Dude,
but I see it. I didn't know it existed.
No, it's crazy. I taught a lot of, not the guys I work with, but guys outside of that I have done some work with. I'm like, bro, leave your wife. Like, because if she's unwilling to correct her behavior, just get out of there. Like, I think men need a couple of things to feel like the reciprocity for all the effort they put in. And I think it's like undaunting respect. If they've earned it. And if they're not an asshole, like they deserve that. And that's the form of currency back to the man. Yeah. And the other thing is sex. Like if you don't get those things as a man, you wonder what you're doing wrong. And
for sure.
100%.
Yeah,
and so when I talk to guys,
you get a starfish in bed even. You get it, but it's just
no. If she doesn't want it, I'm out. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
And it to me, it's destructive internally because I wonder what's wrong with me.
Well, I think I may have shared it with you before, and it's this idea that a lot of people, especially in Christianity, they look at a marriage as a contract that's unbreakable. It's eternal, and it's dangerous in its nature. And some people will say, "Well, how could you say that, Eric? That's anti-Christianity." And I'm saying, no, it's not. If I go back to when I was dating my wife, and you go back to when you're dating your wife, what made it fun and exciting and enjoyable, and that connection, that electricity that we talk about, where you're fired up, was the perception of options.
100%.
It's not that you're choosing those options, but you had other options and she had other options. Correct. But you were choosing each other.
Right.
But the perception of options, I'm not saying go and get on online dating sites and see how many girls you can have hit you up and then show your wife. Yeah, it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you look at your marriage as an unbreakable contract, you will inevitably some point in your marriage stop showing up.
The moment you think you can't get out of somewhere is the moment all you want to do is get out of it. The moment that you feel trapped is the moment it all crumbles.
Because you're resisting it and it's going to persist.
Well, nobody wants to feel trapped.
No, who does?
You want to feel chosen.
If you get in a box.
Right, yeah. You're
going to try and break out.
It's unhealthy the way that society looks at marriage, but it's also unhealthy how quickly people bail on marriage.
Yeah.
There's a paradox. There's both things. There's a dichotomy. And so the guys I deal with, they're younger than me. They grew up with phones in their hands. So pornography is a problem for almost everybody. Because of that comes a large degree of guilt and like worthlessness is how they feel. They all want to be better husbands, all of them. Every person I talk to wants to deliver in that department. If they're a father, that's top of their priority list. But they all are not equipped with the emotional tools to resolve things that have happened that still affect their perception of reality. And when things happen in the past and you create a belief around the thing and you identify meaning with it, it's like saying this, I did this thing and it changed me, and since then I haven't been able to change. And we create an identity out of that. And when that happens and we carry it into adulthood, it just always is there. And as I've studied it, we can become chemically addicted to the thoughts that we have, specifically negative ones, because of the response that it causes in the body and what it does. And so a lot of times I'm working with guys on just helping them adjust their frame a little bit, just understand differently, helping them resolve things from the past or things right now that need to be resolved in their marriage or whatever it is, walking them through the conversations, how they should go, inviting them to bring their wife in and let me talk to both of them, whatever it is. And I think the thing that I've done well, not intentionally, but I genuinely like the thing in life that I care most about outside of my family is deep, meaningful relationships with other people. I don't want to sit down and small talk like it's not my jam. I don't like it. I want to know like how you're doing. And if it's not good, I'd like to hear why. This
is why I think I like you, actually, because there's not a lot of people that think that way, and I feel like I vibe that same way. I have cut relationships not intentionally; they just naturally fizzled out, phased out, and I have no desire to be around them for that very reason. You bring up anything that's real, and their mouth's just shut.
Yeah, man.
They can't talk about it.
And this is a problem, and it's a problem with men, because men will become reclusive and say, "I can't talk about this; it makes me."
There's some form of shame and guilt.
Yeah,
that I've seen. And it's been hard for me to put my finger on it because I don't really know what's going through their mind.
I think it has to do with the perception of what a man should be or what they believe it should be, and a lack of intentional conversation around emotions. Because these guys I talk to, they don't even know how to label the emotion they're feeling correctly.
No. Yeah.
And if I just say, hey, you have to, it could be a conversation with a wife, and I tell them, it's going to take some courage, right? And I just use this label of a term they understand, which is courage, and all of a sudden they know they can do the thing. Like, that's why they can't resolve stuff, is because they're not labeling it properly or understanding it properly, or maybe biochemically they don't know what to do about it. But yeah, men become reclusive when they struggle, and they just grind that out by themselves.
I had this thought this morning, it goes along with what you're saying, and it just came to me. I don't know where it came from. I literally have no idea where it came from, and it was this. I was on a run, and I stopped and just did an Instagram reel really quick, or not a reel, but just like a story. Because the thought was, why do we, when somebody asks us to go and do, I've never done Taekwondo, let's say, or I've never done boxing. I'm not a swimmer, or like I haven't been swimming a lot. I don't identify as that. Right. Well, when they ask us, hey, do you want to go swim with me in the morning? Like, oh, I don't swim.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Well, that's what you say. So you're also saying I am not a swimmer, right? Or that's something that comes out of the mouth too. Right. I'm not a swimmer, so no, I'm good. I'm not a swimmer. Well, what if we would just change that phrase? Because that phrase it's whenever I say I am, I really pay attention. To my subconscious is paying attention, so I try to consciously pay attention anytime I say I am. So if I say I'm not a swimmer, why wouldn't we change that to, at least internally, I'm not sure if I'm a swimmer yet. Maybe I am. I haven't tried it enough to know.
Right. Yeah.
And if we have that perspective, I want people to think about it for a second. If you have that self-talk, that soundtrack that you replace with I'm not, instead of I don't know, I'm curious. You're leaning into it with curiosity. I think to myself, I thought this on my run this morning, how would my life be different in 5 years from now if I played that soundtrack versus I'm not?
Yeah. And you only know by doing. Like, if you were to maintain that for 5 years, you'd find out. But what you're highlighting is people's legitimate fear of unknown. And they don't want to go there if they don't know the result.
Yeah.
people don't want to get away from what they've learned and have to learn. They like the safe space of, here's my ideology, here's what I believe, and it's not to be approached, and it's not to be prodded, it's not to have holes poked in it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just the ultimate form of weakness.
Yeah.
If what you believe can't be approached and addressed and talked about, then you probably don't believe it in the first place. You probably just cling to it as something that comforts you, and you're so good being comfortable there, you don't want it to be compromised. But it's like, I suck at swimming. To your point, I did an Ironman with Iron Cowboy, and I never learned how to swim well. I tried for like 6 or 8 months. I took classes, had a coach, I did a bunch of stuff. And if someone said to me, do you want to come swimming? What I know what I would do. I'd say, no, I don't want to. I hate swimming, but what time are you going? I'll be like, because it's like, I know what's on the other side of swimming, so it's not the unknown for me. I know I'm not good at it yet.
Because you've tried it.
Yeah, and I could try longer and get good at it. That's just a function of time and effort, as you will get good at whatever it is. But
you're proving my point.
Right.
Yeah.
People, it's the fear of unknown. And I think with a lot of guys, what they're going through is stuff that they've learned in their subconscious for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's a fear of unlearning. And I believe that the unlearning is more important than the learning.
That's my word for the year.
Actually, now that you say that, I remember you saying that.
Can I add another one that I think men struggle with?
Yeah.
Maybe we can jam on this for a little bit. And I know we both have to go fairly soon, so maybe it is the last thing we talk about or not. I don't know. What we'll have to do is Zack Memmott 2, episode 2. So I see a huge problem with men that don't have accountability.
100%.
I understand why they don't want to have accountability. They think that it's easier. There's something that happens when you become married, and especially when you don't have kids, but even if you do have kids, you hide. You hide with work. You sedate somewhere. And that could be the porn. It could be drinking. It could just be Netflix. It could just be work. It could just be going out and
for guys.
working out all the time.
2.5 hours at
That's your hit.
Instead of an hour, you know?
Everybody has a hit, but you're hiding somewhere. And the people that I see that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s that I am the most sad for are people that their entire life they've ran from accountability from other men.
Interesting.
They don't want to open their skeletons in the closet, if we will. They want to be vulnerable with any other man. They want to put on a facade, but they don't have any close friends.
Right.
They don't even have any social gatherings they go to. They don't have people over at their house.
Yeah,
because people that I'm intimate with, intimate settings, and I've seen it now multiple times. And I've started to pay attention to it. Those, like, I can see very clearly accountability for men is so crucial, and having good, solid, close friends and friendships as men. Without that, I've seen the result, and it's not good.
Yeah, the accountability man to man is why team sports are really good for people.
Yeah,
it's why tribal culture still works. It's why men need a group of dudes around them, like a tribe of men, because you and I, or me and all of my friends combined, all the guys I can trust to be like emotionally open with me and authentic with me, and all the ones I'll be that with anybody if they ask. Like I'm not hiding anything, but I bring all those guys together maybe, and if I'm messing up, they're all going to call me on it, 100%. Now, if we are all off doing our thing, working, grinding, because we're not with each other, holding each other's pockets 24/7, there's still a sense of accountability, because you fit into a group of men that if you fall or you don't move up, they're going to leave you behind. And that's a good place to be.
I agree.
It's a really healthy place to be. And I think that guys, there's a lot of guys that would love that, but don't think they're qualified for it. Like, it's not for me. I don't fit there. And it's simply just a yet, dude. Like, just put yourself in the circle. Do what it takes. Yeah. Figure out how to get around the people you want to be around. And if you can show up authentic and willing to go through it, I'm good with you. Like, we can hang out.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care where you're at in your life or what's going on or how much different our lifestyle is or anything. Like, guys need guys. Guys need other men. And I think conversely, I think women need women friends.
They're just better at it.
Yeah.
I've seen it. You've seen it too. They get together, they do bungo nights, and they do.
Yeah. They try to facilitate all the stuff. I think the problem that falls on women in those settings is if you don't have like a stellar group of girls, then it's not good. And it's easier, I think, to find a stellar group of men than it is a really stellar group of women. And I don't mean that as a disparaging comment.
Well, there's less product and makeup stuff for guys to hide behind. So.
And there's more programs and there's more things geared towards men's development than there is women. And so women become moms and they lose their entire identity.
I agree.
And then they don't know why they're unhappy. And then they become unaccountable because the only thing they have to do is wipe ass and make food. Yeah. And then
check the boxes, but never for me.
And it's so much work to do that they might go 2 weeks without, getting their hair done or just getting ready for the day. And if you aren't aware enough to realize what that does to a person, walk around like a bum for 2 weeks, right? Like, don't ever get done up. Go in public like that and see how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
It affects you. And when you don't have time for yourself, you get affected. When you don't have time to just sit and be okay and just like not be bombarded with stuff. So there's a couple of things that motherhood doesn't necessarily disable women from developing, but it has to be facilitated intentionally at that point. There has to be a way for them to get their time at the gym or whatever it is they want to do. If they want to be on social media or do whatever it is, there are women that all they want to do is be a mother. And I get that. And cool. Do your thing. Yeah. But I see more women have babies and lose who they are. And it's not that they don't want to be a mother. They want to. It's just that they fall apart. And so men just have, societally, there are more options for men to get in groups that are leveling up all the time. And that's why it's easier to find a group of accountable men. Like, you ever heard of a woman's mastermind, like Strictly Women?
Not as many.
Yeah, I was asking some people and I don't know of any.
Yeah.
And it's just it would be useful. But to my point, if you go out, if you just pick like 20 chicks that all go to dinner together, at some point somebody's going to bring up how horrible sex is, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it just becomes this disparaging place. And instead of women like, no, this is, when we talk about it, we talk about our responsibilities as a father, a husband, whatever it is, if we're struggling here at work or whatever, and how we're striving to be better. What if that's what dinner with the girls was like? Yeah. What if it was just reinforcement and edification and just like, you can do this constantly? Then we would have a different outcome there. But yeah, men need men, period. And I believe women need women also.
We need community. We seek it all the time. If you look at how our society is run, why are Chiefs fans? Why will they stand up in a Super Bowl when they win and they all high five the person next to them, give them a hug and a kiss? They don't even know the person. We love being in tribes. We love feeling connected. We love community. It exists in churches. It exists in sports teams. It exists in local levels where you're with your neighbors, right? You feel a sense of belonging. And that leads me to the point that I want to make now, which is our ego is not okay with us not being a somebody. We don't like the idea that we could be a nobody. We have to attach meaning to something. But if you think about it, when we were born, we were raised, like, we were nobody. Like, at what point did we become a somebody? Well, we have programming. And our parents program us, our church programs us, our school programs us, any teacher, anybody in our life can program us a certain way. And for mothers, to go to your point, they've been programmed to believe that is their identity. I am a mother. Okay? Same thing with men. I am a provider. Not taking away from those roles, those sacred roles, right? Like there's something there. The problem is when they feel like they didn't choose that identity. It was almost forced upon them, but they don't know why. They start to struggle.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they don't really understand what's going to happen when that baby comes here. Right? Like, they may have said, I want to have one. They choose collectively to have a child together. But one of them's going to stay home if they're both working, and the other one's going to have to turn up the knob on providing.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes a disconnect.
Yeah. Every time we've had a baby in my family, there's always a huge disconnect for several months, if not a full year, and you'll slowly feel like it's coming back. I don't know if other men feel that way.
As far as I've talked to them, they have, I think they're just, in anything that you do, whether it's being a father, a husband, going to the gym, like going to wash your truck, you need to do it with intention for a specific outcome. It's like, okay, we have the first 6 months of the baby here. How intentional can I be to maintain the connection? Because I know there's going to be things that break that up. Like I can't avoid them. There's going to be sleepless nights. There's going to be, and after those nights, I have to go to work. And when I go to work after a sleepless night and she has to stay awake and take care of the baby, I feel like crap for having to do that, but it has to be done. So I'm going to do it. And I think all of those things are fine.
Yeah. There's things that you got to do.
Yeah. It's our duty and, you just do it. But the guys that I work with and what's really got me fired up is I just realized like all this stuff's so easy to repair if you just do the work.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay there. Like you just have to address it. You just have to do the work. You have to be ready to go. And the most fulfilling thing in life, I think, outside of giving to others is feeling like you're getting better, that you're improving. Yeah, that there's progress. And
you're not stuck.
Yeah. When you feel stuck, all you want is out, period. And I have a lot of guys, the last couple of weeks, I've been asked this question a few times. They're like, I just want to get out of this situation I'm in. And I've said, go here with me mentally. You're in a field of tall grass and a circle of fire just encircles you. And you have to get out. Like you're saying you want to get out. What do you do? And so I have to run through the fire. Say, yeah, the only way out is through. You can't get out of where you're at emotionally, mentally, physiologically, unless you get through it. And people will take the outs and then that shit comes back.
Yeah.
And it comes back and it comes back and it comes back. And so
that actually means a ton to me because I felt exactly what you're saying. I know what it feels like. I know what it looks like. I know what it tastes like. Like I know what you're talking about. I've been through that. It goes back to something we said earlier, that what you resist will continue to persist. And if you don't understand what I mean when I say that, then that means that you have not gone through the fire because you actually have to let go or drive through or like like it's burning pain. Like you just let it in.
Yeah. You have
willingly almost.
You have to submit.
Submit is a good word.
Yeah, you have to just like stop kicking against the pricks, but you can still fight in the direction that you need to go. But it needs to be with a humility and a willingness to unlearn.
Yeah. And okay with the pain that comes, for sure.
Because it's either going to just hurt right now while it gets done, or it's going to hurt for the rest of your life at times that you don't choose. And what I label that as is involuntary chaos. When those things just pop up that you haven't resolved, your life could be functioning fine. And now all of a sudden there's turmoil and there's pain and there's you snapping at your wife and the kids and there's you getting upset about something that shouldn't be too upsetting. And all of a sudden this chaos comes back like, oh, this thing's popping its head back up. I'm going to put it down. And it's like, let's just fix the problem.
Yeah.
And I think an unencumbered human being, somebody that is just existing, like peacefully striving because they've resolved everything, I believe that is how life is supposed to be. I don't think it should be constant torment and chaos. I don't think it should be constant stress. I just think that that's a waste of our time here. If you've got, at best 105 years at very best, right? If not at very best, you've got like 70 to 85 years to exist. And you and I are almost halfway there.
And that's at best.
Right. It's like,
because there's so much we could go into there. And that, me and Corinne just talked about it today. Me and my wife just talked about it today. Is like, we don't want to wait to go on that trip or go and do the thing or go and buy the thing or go and take the shot because one day and we're planning for it or whatever. No, if we can do it, we do it now. I think we just dropped, I'll just say it was over 10 grand and between 10 and 20 grand in our garage gym. Why did we do that? Because we wanted it. Yeah, because it's an investment in health, because it makes you feel better. Why else? Because we wanted it.
Yeah.
I think too often people want a reason for it. Do you know what I mean? A better reason. They have to attach it to something though.
Do you know how much,
it's I want to.
Do you know how much like shit men do that they don't want to do? Because let me just lay it out. I don't want to get up and go to the gym at 5 a.m. I'd much rather go at 2 p.m. after I waddled around all day.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to go sit in an office for 6 hours a day. I don't want to help put the kids to bed after I've been dealing with really heavy emotional stuff all day long at work. I definitely don't want to deal with bills and stuff. Like basically my whole life is me, until I do the things I want, I'm mostly doing things that I don't necessarily want to do that need to get done to provide for the people I love.
Yeah.
And to turn myself into a version of myself that I'm proud of. Now, if I don't give myself my wants, I'll starve. I will just become unhappy. Yes. I'll become resentful. I'll become miserable. And if you're not in a position to give yourself your wants, just nut up and make a change.
Yeah.
Like
whatever it takes.
I'm not saying go get a credit card and put debt on a credit card, but there is nobody that I know.
No, but sell your house because it's too expensive and you can't make it, or go start a business, or go quit your 9 to 5, or go like those sacrifices. They're really hard.
It is hard to sacrifice. It's way harder if you feel like you've arrived. That's where I found myself.
I agree.
I was like making, passively north of $500,000 a year. And it's like, nothing can happen to me at this point. The money comes in no matter what. And to get to that point and realize, oh, I might have to take a step back in lifestyle for 18 months if I want to go to the next level. That hurts way worse than when you're broke. Yeah. And I don't even care that it hurts. It's just a thing that is necessary for me to go to where I want to go. So, come what may, like, let's do it. But
it's the slingshot analogy. And I don't know if you've heard that one. Mm-mm. If you think about a slingshot, like slingshot carries a lot of power behind it, but you have to pull it back in order for it to be propelled forward. So there's this point, right, where you hit like the tension reaches its max. Mm-hmm. So like pulling back, you're going backwards in life, right? And then I don't know what the perfect word is for it, but like the climax of like the tension, I guess.
Love that word, yeah. Climax.
And then once you hit that, there's no more pulling back. And then once you let that go, you will actually propel further forward, because now you have all that momentum, right? Or you have all of that thrust, that catalyst, that momentum, whatever the word is that we use, but you have to go back in order to go forward. So if we had a linear graph, but and the slingshot was there, we have to go backwards.
In a couple of aspects. So lifestyle wise, if you're trying to propel your lifestyle, take a few steps back to move forward. If you're struggling emotionally or mentally with some emotion, we're going to have to go back and resolve that stuff for you to move forward. And once it is resolved, the past becomes useless. Mm-hmm. It's just an experience. It's not a definition of who you are. And when the past becomes irrelevant, the future becomes all you want to talk about.
Say that again.
When the past becomes irrelevant because you've solved it, because there's nothing there nagging at you, beating you up, pulling you back to it, it simply just becomes a learned experience and it's not relevant anymore. Mm. You may tell the story to illustrate a point, right? Like I could do that. But if I tell like the entire story of all the depth, the deep places I've gone in my past involuntarily due to life circumstances or whatever, people will be like, oh, I can't believe you've gone through that. Or that must have been so this or that. And it's like, no, I just was a thing. And now I'm here, but because I went through this, I can relate to you and I can kind of help you see what I see in you. But there's only a couple times in life when it's okay to go back. And it's when something needs to be resolved or when you're trying to propel yourself forward. Other than that, you should be solely fixated on the most abundant future that you believe you can achieve and get to that limit of what you believe, and then crack the ceiling and go higher and crack the ceiling and go higher, and then align yourself and go. Yeah. And if I could do something for every man in the world, it would help them get there. Because nobody has to be poor in spirit. Nobody has to be poor financially. Nobody has to not believe in themselves. And societally, there's an epidemic of men thinking they're wrong for being men.
Yeah.
And men thinking, oh, I'm a man, I can't talk about my emotions. And I think, I don't know this, but I would imagine if I'm not in a position where I'm speaking or I'm holding the room, if somebody that didn't know me was observing me, they would never venture to guess that I'm going to be emotionally open.
Yeah.
I'm quiet. I keep to myself. If I'm not the center of the room, I might crack a joke or whatever. But I think most of the time those things come off. If you don't know me, it could be like, oh, he's insecure, he's cracking a joke or whatever. But all things considered, every man feels the emotions I feel, and I know that.
Mm.
And so we shouldn't be mysterious to one another. Now, if you don't have a man in your life that you can be like, hey, bro, I need some help. Well, guess what? There's probably dudes in your life you don't think you can go to that will help you. And it's just never okay to not reach out if you're in a really, really dark place. It's just, it's not all right. My best friend, one of his childhood best friends, killed himself last weekend. And I mean, he's a stud, like had a law degree, incredibly intelligent, physical specimen, just like a stud of a human. But his world got so dark, he took his own life. And suicide rates in the United States, men crush women in suicide. And if we just sit by idly and be like, oh, they're going to be okay, they're a man. They're not. But they can be, with the right work, with the right intention, raising their level of consciousness and understanding. And if I can be a tool to help facilitate that for a handful of people and I die, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I'm good. So as a father, I'm like, I have to teach my son to be like this because someday he's going to be a man and someday he's going to lead a family. Yeah. And if I am reading him right, he's going to lead a lot more than just his family. And if he can't lead on an emotional level, he can't lead. And if I can't love deeply the men that I'm surrounded by and talk to them the same way I would talk to my wife about our marriage problems, but to them about whatever's going on in their life, then as a leader, I think I'm a piece of crap. Mm. Like, I'm not just here to help guys make money. I can do that too. I know how to do it. But no matter what you achieve financially or monetarily or with your possessions, none of it is equal to the peace that you feel when nothing's pulling you back, when nothing is eating you up inside.
Yeah.
And so that's what's got me fired up lately. That's all. It's really dominating my thoughts, my education. It's like, it's this new, I guess, phase of life I'm stepping into that it's the only thing that I really want to do. Mm. For me, like selfishly, like I love like riding my motorcycle or hunting, or like there's some things I love doing, love working out. But outside of those ancillary just things for fun, as far as something that like takes an emotional toll on me, like is resistance, is like work. I love doing that.
That's cool.
And I don't think that I'm the most equipped person in the world to do it. I just believe I'm a willing listener and that I almost always find myself acting out of love, not even intentionally. It's just who I am.
I would argue that you are, and that's my opinion, but that's one of the reasons why I feel like you need to do more and more. We talked about this yesterday or 2 days ago about on social media and all those things, is because the things that you've said today, men need to hear. And the only way to get loud and get that out there to hit the most people and to attract them like a magnet to where they can meet somebody like you is through social media. And the only way to be able to impact their lives and their kids' lives and their wives on a massive scale is through social media. And so I think that you have, and I know it's not even think, like I've spent enough time, but it's actually a lot of time. Like I don't have a lot of like really close friends, and I don't have enough that I have like deep conversations. Is one of the reasons why I truly love you.
Thank you.
As a person, is because you naturally do.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that, and this is weird because it's on camera, but I feel like I'm not even on camera right now. I'm just talking to you. Is like you got to do it, dude. Like you will have people reaching out to you all the time because you're so vulnerable. You're so open about these things, and you carry that energy where they'll just like a magnet. They'll come to you for help, for advice.
I thank you for one. I love you too, and I appreciate it. And I'm committed to doing it. So I don't know what the resistance has been, but I think I have to. I think in these settings, I get rolling and I spit out a lot of intelligent things, but to just sit in front of a camera and do it is a struggle sometimes. Because I don't have any like contextual inputs to get me thinking, get my wheels turning. But something you said, and maybe this is something for men to understand, is the word vulnerability means that you're open to attack. It means that you're in a position to be attacked. And emotional vulnerability is not what men should be. Emotionally authentic is what men should be. They should just keep it real. Cut the bullshit. Take the fucking mask off. And just be who you are. So people can know you and love you. And so that you can get the help that people would offer you. Vulnerability we use the term and it's understood. But understand that emotional authenticity is power. And vulnerability sends a different message. And that if, as men, we can be emotionally authentic and emotionally intelligent, you can't just be rage and anger and like what people would call toxic. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's just toxic men. So by default, they're masculine.
Yeah.
Masculinity itself is a beautiful thing. It's not toxic. Yeah. It's a necessary thing. And femininity is the same. And if we don't just cut the bullshit and be emotionally authentic, there's a time and a place to do it. Like, it doesn't have to be every day of your life. You walk around like something's wrong. But if you need something, talk to somebody. If you're not figuring out in your brain, if you can't like reason your own emotions, talk to somebody. Just the ability to speak it versus work it internally. You might solve your own damn problem if someone will just listen to you. And this is what I believe has broken men over time. I think you came back from war, you didn't talk about it, and it's like, that's not healthy no matter how tough you are. And if I think the toughness thing gets misconstrued, like whatever the task is, I'm not going to quit till my body fails if I've committed to do it. So toughness aside, I believe I'm pretty tough. I believe that I'll persist. I believe I'll really work hard. I also believe that if I'm not emotionally authentic, I'm a broken man. No matter how good I am at making money, being a father, being tough, working my ass off, doing those things. If I don't show up as who I am, if I don't leave the mask at home in the bedside table and never pick it up again, then I'm just perpetuating a broken man to the rest of the world.
I think it's one of the best clips I've seen. I have like 3 15-second clips at least right there. And there's a couple that I'm going to chop up into reels, and they're probably, in my mind as I'm replaying them back, probably some of the best clips that I've seen in the last year. Thanks. Right there. Like, right there. So I'm going to clip those up. You got some stuff. Now you have some content to blow him up. Dude, thanks for coming on.
I loved it, bro.
It was super awesome to have you. Appreciate you coming out.
Let's do it again.
Yeah. We'll have to do round 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
Guys, thanks for listening this far. If you feel like you've gotten value from this, like I always say, share it with people. Take the podcast link, share it to your friends, share it to people that you care about, that you love, like your friends that are masculine, that your male friends. Tell them you love them. And maybe just share this, and they're going to hear this last part. This is you telling them that you love them, that you care about them. We need to do a better job. And I think we all want to. And it's just time to do it. I'll see you guys in the next one.